Good evening. Thank you for joining us for our board meeting tonight. Please help me open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have the roll call?
Trustee Jesberger?
Here.
Trustee Sierra?
Here.
Fiscal officers here. Township administrator?
Here.
Chief of fire?
Here.
Chief of police?
Here.
Superintendent of public works?
Here.
Our next meeting will be February 2nd, 2023 at 999 Chambers Road at 6:30 p.m. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda with flexibility.
Second?
Trustee Sierra?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes. Logistics and routines discussion.
I purposely used broad language in case anything else occurred to either one of us about this, but I mostly wanted to first of all talk about agenda setting and make sure that my assumption was correct, that when we talked about this about a year ago, I think that the intention was to have 2 really clear days before a meeting and close the agenda at the end of business on Monday. And if that's correct and if that's the day, I'd like for us to remind ourselves that that's true and realize that this last minute ballooning of the agenda that happens sometimes is very difficult on at least me. I'll speak for myself. The ability to call somebody up is not immediate for me, and if I need to walk through something or chat about something, I'd like to have the time to do that rather than just having stuff hitting the agenda left and right because everybody's doing their homework on Wednesday. If it's a hot topic and it's a, up against the wall deadline, of course we've always made room for stuff like that. Something just came from the attorney and we really need to get it back, okay, I don't have an issue with that. But if it's ordinary business-like stuff, including a PO, I'm not sure we can ask ourselves the question, can this not wait 2 weeks and get it on the next agenda in a timely way? I would just appreciate that. And I wanted to double check with you if that understanding was yours too about Monday.
That is my understanding.
Okay. So yeah, if we could get back to that, guys, I'd appreciate it. It just seems like we need to remind ourselves about that every couple of years. So, done.
All right. Ohio Township Day is February 1st, 2023, so it is the day before our next meeting. I did want to highlight that and then just inform everyone that the first day of February is designated as Ohio Township Day in recognition of township officials and employees. This day has been set aside to recognize the hard work and dedication of township trustees and fiscal officers who promote grassroots government. So I would like to make sure that we have something posted on social media for that day as well. But I wanted to make that announcement now because we will be meeting the day after. All right, on to the fiscal officer.
All right, I request an approval of the January 5th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Sierra?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes.
I'll read the December 2022 fiscal report. On December 1st, we had $9,199,463.61. Revenue in the month of December was $182,402.22. Again, we did not get our CETA. It will post January. So for anybody that tracks our revenue closely, that's about half of what it usually is. But January will be larger than it normally is. Expenditures in the month of December were $508,198.75, leaving us with an overall fund balance of $8,873,697.08. And I won't read the numbers, but every month we'll be dividing the JEDZ amount from the general fund. So the general fund has $6.6 million in it, and of that, $2.6 is JEDZ's monies and $3.9 is the general funds.
Thank you for that. It's gonna help, thanks. Before we leave the fiscal section, can we talk about the recent change in minutes procedures?
Sure.
How did that come about? What's that about?
Glenda helped type the meeting minutes before she left. So Deborah helped this round.
Why is that not a fiscal assistant job? If you need assistance with it, it just seems that that wouldn't be the board assistant to do that anymore, even if you got that help before. I mean, it's in her job description,
It's in whose job description?
the fiscal assistant's job description, to help the fiscal officer with the
So you
minutes.
don't want the information specialist working on meeting minutes?
I don't.
Okay.
I think she's gonna have a really full plate here very shortly if we decide we're gonna do anything about historical markers. And even if not, I really want that time spent. I mean, I just feel like there's never enough PR. You know, you can always do more with that position, so.
Okay, I let her supervisor know before I asked her to do it, so I didn't, but she doesn't have to.
Okay. And thanks for sending the Word doc too, because the PDF was cumbersome. So I appreciated getting the Word doc after that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Now request approval of the December 2022 fiscal report.
Second?
Trustee Sierra?
Yes.
Trustee Jeffberger?
Yes. On to committee and team reports.
Produce market update from January 13th, 2023. We had 9,500 pounds of produce that we distributed to about 250 individuals. Our next produce market is January 27th, 2023. And one addition I have to this, Mid-Ohio has been sending us free COVID test kits now for a couple of months. I've been trying to put those out at markets and not have a lot of takers. We have a stockpile. I'm offering these to the community for free. This kit specifically is $30 at your pharmacy, and we have about 80 of them. So if anyone's in need, please stop by. Next, we were trying to advertise our chat monthly meetings to the community to try to get more input from the community. Next meeting will be February 2nd, 2023 at 999 Chambers Road at 5 p.m.
And then just a quick update on the records commission. I did meet with the fiscal officer and the fiscal assistant on Tuesday this week. They had met individually, I believe, with the department heads, added a couple descriptions to a couple of the departments, but everything is on track. And I believe it was filed this week.
Yeah, we updated the schedule for the general and one update for the police, I believe. And so we submitted those to the historic
Ohio History
connection. And that will probably get approved. So after that's approved, then we'll move forward with our request for a purge. So there's RC2s and RC3s, and I get them mixed up. But the schedule of what we could purge, we updated for the general and police. And now all the departments, and let's give some sympathy to our code compliance officer, because this is his first time he's doing it, and he's inheriting a lot of things that we just need to purge.
Just out of curiosity, year before last year, when I was involved in some of that work, we were only just getting started on thinking about how we kept records for social media type issues. Has that part of the schedule been updated with any, I don't know how those records are being kept. Much less how we, by what criteria we get rid of them.
They are. Electronic media was placed in last year, so we are meeting the requirements for those records. I can't remember the time turnaround
And electronic media was added. So we're keeping all of our posts and stuff in the building on what?
Backing them up on thumb drives, that's what they told us would suffice.
Okay.
And so this is kind of a big topic because, you know, in the old-fashioned world, a record was a piece of paper. Now that we have Facebook posts, which actually are more positive than negative, but they become a live record. So this is actually a pretty hairy and big topic. So, you know, we are meeting the requirement, but when you go down the rabbit hole of what is a record, why would somebody comment on a post from 2 years ago, but they can. So then that would actually be a new record. So I think, you know, we're intending to meet the requirement, but I would also encourage us to loop back about it because it's got more legs than people think.
I just knew we were at the very beginning of that conversation, the last I knew, so I was just curious how far we got. Thanks.
On to Mr. Hoffman.
Just a continuation of the last meeting about the employee handbook items, the inclement weather and part-time insurance. Something came up this week that I would put on there as well as the definitions of immediate family, especially when it comes into consideration for bereavement. Taking a look at our employee handbook, and then I also provided copies of both IFF and FOP's contracts. All three are slightly different. Contracts seem to have more individuals covered under immediate family than the employee handbook. So I included those for you as well. One thing that did come up too is that the suggestion of adding the percentage of what the employees pay for the part-time and the full-time insurance. Full-time employees pay 9%, part-time pays 18%. I did not include that in the verbiage that I came up with. However, we did have that conversation during the last meeting. My thought process was that if we had it in the handbook and we make a change, we don't change it in the handbook, what impact might that have? But I also see the benefit of having it in the handbook because then that way anyone can pick up the handbook and see as long as it's the most current. I think our new process in regards to updating the handbook and getting the most up-to-date version of it available will probably help in that situation as well. So I guess this is the most current copies I have. If you guys want to take them away and review them one last time and maybe act on them in the next meeting, or if you want to have that discussion tonight. The copies, I guess I would have you look at would be the options on the Word document. The first section is what it currently says, and then the second section is, I guess, the full.
Do you need longer? Do you need longer to look at them?
No, I read through this.
Me too. I was fine with the stuff that, the way it is now in the options with the inclement weather and the insurance piece, and I agree that just putting a percentage in there is probably gonna be more of a headache than it's worth to us. I think that's just part of onboarding and educating folks as, you know, as they come in. So I didn't have anything about that. In terms of bereavement, I would like to know what FMLA's grouping is. And I would like to be consistent with that. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I think eventually contracts ought to get consistent with that too. And I'm fine, absolutely fine, with sort of that idea in one of these about adding another day for some of those people who happen to fall outside of the initial bracket, and giving some credit for those folks too. But I think in terms of the definition, it would be great to get some consistency there, and FMLA might be a good model for that.
I think the IFF contract has it broken down to other families having not as long, family members not having as long time off.
Yeah, 'cause I just don't wanna see us someday and that, well, you said it was immediate family for my bereavement leave, and now it's not immediate family for my FMLA, you know, so it seems that some consistency there probably makes sense.
I will look up that definition and share that with you for the next meeting.
And then for the full-time insurance, we should also add that employees do pay a portion. It's listed in the part-time, but it's not listed in the full-time, by paying a portion of the premium as established by the Board of Trustees.
Good catch.
We'll just add that to the first paragraph where.
The
it's,
vote, and
yeah.
we don't want to put the percentage for each, I guess we don't have to, but just whether you're on the full-time or part-time policy, employees pay a portion.
With that addition, do we wanna, think about approving the first two? You got it. It's impressive.
That's without the rain.
Okay, I'll make a motion to include the option, the new option in the inclement weather policy, and the new option of the insurance policy section of the employee handbook, with the addition of the paying a portion of the premium that we discussed. So I'll move that those be accepted and added to the handbook. And second.
You're seconding the motion, Kenny? I thought you first did.
It's okay, she said so moved, so.
In a seconding kind of way.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Trustee Sarah?
Yes.
Trustee Jasper?
Next is the continuation of the discussion regarding signage for the Cleveland Avenue project. Trustee Sarah presented a template. I kind of massaged it a little bit. It is,
I thought yours was much better than mine. I like yours a lot.
so I guess the size of the font and the logo and all that stuff is, can be adjusted. I think part of it is too, if we were thinking, do we want to use the historic Northern Lights district, or if the verbiage seems to be appropriate. Obviously, we'd be using the branding, font, colors, things on that line.
Isn't that the name of the shopping plaza, Northern Lights? I just wonder why, it just seems like we're promoting Northern Lights over Amos. I get that we call it the Northern Lights neighborhood, I appreciate that, but Amos contributes to the holiday parade. I can't recall Northern Lights ever doing that, so it's just my 2 cents as far as the words. I understand the sentiment and I support it, but Amos has been more collaborative with us than Northern Lights over the years.
I agree that is true, and I guess for me, it's, if you were to ask the average resident on the street, there's a lot more people familiar with Northern Lights who identify with it as a neighborhood.
Yep.
And I agree with everything you said about, from the business aspect.
I think the study that was done a while back was called like the Northern Lights study, but it also included Amos, up the east side of Cleveland Avenue, the west side of Cleveland Avenue, and part of Ennis,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
as the boundaries for that study.
Yeah, I like like the concept, I get it, that we do kind of refer to them, just from behind the scenes, thinking of the branding and sympathetic that Amos has almost always contributed, not a lot, 100 or 150 bucks, but, and we've just, and other issues, had a hard time working with Northern Lights folks.
So has it always been known as Northern Lights District?
Not district.
Like where did district come from?
We're trying to figure out how to designate it. That's why we wanted to think about what wording would be. And I just threw district in there when you said you liked the notion of the historic, and historic districts are all over the place out there. But whatever it is, we'd kind of be creating it. Like nobody says Northern Lights neighborhood or Northern Lights corridor or Northern Lights zone or what, Brian?
Community is what I've heard people refer to it as.
Historic Northern Lights community? That's interesting.
I guess, not to be too selfish, but it's, folks are in Clinton Township. We already have, I guess, the regular signs are in Clinton Township, so I guess I don't know what we're kind of going for here with a branding direction.
So, yeah, so I think when Matt and I were just messing around with Franklin County engineers on the project itself, we came to the realization that these signs being where they're going to be in new medians in a relatively short strip of Cleveland Avenue, they don't really function like boundary signs do to identify Clinton Township, and it would seem weird to just put Clinton Township, say at Melrose Avenue, in the middle of nowhere, when it's, by itself, Clinton Township, because then it acts more like a border sign. So we wanted to try to, I think, take advantage of this opportunity in an economic development sense to promote this particular shopping area, this particular corridor. So that's kind of how we ended up, with this kind of an idea rather than just a township sign. And keeping in mind that the medians are going to have softscaping and trees and crosswalks that come into them where pedestrians might wait in between, traffic lanes, and they're going to be really nice looking places to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Because I've only ever known it as Northern Lights. I feel like when it's talked about, like when I have friends or family ask me, like, Clinton Township, like, where is that? And I'll say, like North Linden, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, Northern Lights. Oh, okay.
Northern Lights and Lennox.
Yeah. Northern Lights area? Neighborhood?
Corridor.
We need to do something. They're pushing us to move on here. It's kind of timing of.
What is the?
I suppose what we could say, we could probably get away with, okay, county engineers, here's what we are liking so far. We might like to change this last word at some point. We know we're not printing these right now, and what they want from us is an idea so that they could spec it, a size and how it impacts the construction and stuff like that. So maybe we can keep thinking about the last bit. Do we like historic Northern Lights well enough to just run with that part of the idea?
I think I like that part. Were you gonna say something?
Northern Lights District?
That's what it is now. Not sure everybody likes it.
Now, kind of keeping in mind, the median on the north side of this area, which would be southbound traffic,
Yep.
is only about 8 feet wide. They want at least 2 feet.
2 feet on each was what you told me.
So that sign would be about only
4 feet.
4 feet, which, it's
It's as wide as the
large
street.
enough, but on the south side, we can go a little bigger because that median's wider, so. But then there was some discussion about maybe from the engineer's office to put the sign actually in the right of way at Melrose and Cleveland, because they're thinking it needs to be some feet there's gonna be pedestrian crossing here, but the sign's gonna be not anywhere near where the pedestrians are cross, so we'll need to kind of confirm that, but if they can't do it there, then we'll probably do it in the median, at Melrose there at the corner, and we can go a little larger.
Maybe we can, reconfirm with them exactly what they need from us in terms of specs right now. If they need something more than just this, here's what we're thinking, you guys tell us what size we can do it, we might change this last word at some point.
Yeah.
If they'll take that much, great. If they really need some hardcore art and some, you know, we need to know what the border of this sign looks like, we need to know, you know, colors and everything, then we'd give Murphy X and McCall and get a real artist on it, but let's see if they'll take this much.
I think they will. I mean, it's because the project itself's not going to be due until 24.
Yeah, I think they're just looking for specs, size-wise, and post that nature to put it in the bid spec, because they may do the sign for us in-house. They're only worried about the installation part of it, I believe.
Okay, and I think I've been clear in my view, I don't want to see those ugly metal posts. I would like to see something that's 4x4, I don't care if it's wood, vinyl wrapped, whatever it is. I'll replace those 100 times if I have to, if I don't have to have those ugly metal square posts and holes in them.
And you can hide the square posts with vinyl wrap, so it looks like
Yep.
it's vinyl, but it's actually.
Yeah, I would like them to look nice. If we're gonna do them, I think they should look nice and not just.
Are you still wanting them on either on the very ends or?
Maybe we do that on the wide one and we don't do it where we need them all every inch we can get on the short one, and let's see what we find out about the right of way, but I think either way is gonna work out for us.
We'll follow up with the engineer's office tomorrow.
Thank you.
I just have a question, is there any other signs that would be in the median?
I probably will be turning regulatory signs will probably be there where you can turn left, where you can't turn left. I'm sure, and I think that's what the engineer's talking about, anytime there's a sidewalk, any regulatory sign has to be 7 foot above the crown of the road.
Correct your
Yeah.
head on it.
Sure.
I don't believe, now he was supposed to make sure with the mobility department to make sure that this met that qualification as regulatory sign, which I don't think it does.
Our preference would be keep them low.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just worried about them getting ran over. I mean, they'll adjust, we can replace them if they get ran over, people will learn there's a median, but, I mean, high end is the middle.
Anything else on that one? Then the last topic, we've had some conversation about improving the sound in this particular room. Deborah and I met with Eric with IT Made Real. He came in here, he took a look at our setup system in here and the microphones and everything in here. His recommendation would be actually to suspend some microphones directly over the table of the trustees, and then actually suspend camera probably from underneath the.
That doesn't help us with our desire to mute.
I'm sorry.
That doesn't help us with our desire to mute. We want to be able to mute the mic in between.
Oh, okay. Having the cameras stabilized and everything kind of helps that we don't have to do this setup each particular meeting. So, that was just his recommendation from an IT standpoint. Obviously, it was going to be kind of an expensive option as well.
Until you look at this Berkshire Township paragraph.
I'm sorry.
Until you look at this paragraph about Berkshire Township,
Yeah.
does anybody know the size of their room or their layout at all? Is anybody familiar with them? I mean, if they're getting this accomplished with these low cost items, I don't know why we wouldn't want to try that, but maybe a field trip is in order. To see what their work, I mean, if they're in a little tiny room, then maybe that's not the solution, but.
I'm thinking I may have been in Berkshire's At one point, I'd say it was maybe, not maybe half the size of this, but I could confirm all that.
Where is that?
I'm not sure where Berkshire is.
I think that's, up there off 36, 37, and 71.
I was gonna say, it's near Orange, next to Orange.
It's kind of east of 71, Sunbury area.
Okay.
My hunch is we're close, even though there's been a lot of hiccups. Deborah's, I think it was the second time she's sat over there doing this, so if we had folks attending here tonight, we would have to be speaking louder, but I don't know, I think we're closer than we think to fixing this issue.
I'll Berkshire, see how that's working with them. And that's all I have.
Chief Fraley with fire.
So, I'll have to double up on my method report next meeting. My end of year turnover, my reporting software is hanging up a little bit, so I'll make sure to have that for you next meeting. Our next is to request a resolution to increase the fire safety inspector's pay to $31.26 per hour, effective January 8th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Sierra?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes.
And last, with flexibility, just want to remind everybody that we're carrying the naloxone kits at the station for anyone.
Naloxone.
Have we ever featured that on our LED sign?
I know we did initially.
Okay, it might be something to throw up there every once in a while.
You said naloxone and test strips?
And fentanyl test strips.
Fentanyl test
And
strips.
we're averaging a distribution of about 100 kits per month, so we're doing pretty good, but we constantly get restocked.
Thank you. Chief Jones?
Yes, first item I have is to amend, motion to amend resolution 22-12-027, 2023 temporary appropriations by increasing the fund 2081-210-430 small tools and minor equipment to $60,000. Initially, when we
Trustee Sierra?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes.
And last I have a request purchase order from Strategic Sourcing Inc. The amount of $8,860 for 2 new mobile data tablets for the 2023 cruisers. And those would also be line item 2081-210-430.
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Sierra?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes.
And moving forward, just in preparation of next month's meeting, we have 2 applicants that are currently finishing up the process for